The viewpoints expressed on Night Fright are not necessarily those of the host, the staff, the sponsors, or the affiliate stations. Tonight's program may contain graphic themes or images. Viewer discretion is advised.
There is a time for question. There is a time for answers. There is a time to challenge. There is a time to speculate. There is a time for change. There is a time for truth. The time is now. Welcome to Night Fright, your voice in the dark for paranormal and conspiracy. And now your host, Brent Holland.
Showtime! Welcome to the show. I'm Brent Holland, and welcome one and all to Night Fright. Man, am I excited tonight. You know, I was coming into the studio tonight, driving along, as I always do, the shores of Lake Ontario, and of course the wind always blows across there. But tonight, I could look across the lake, and there's a storm coming, folks. So this is a great night for you to settle down, hunker down, get in your most comfy chair, get the coffee going, get the tea going, or a beverage of your choice. Folks, tonight our guest visited at a UK crop circle in 2007, and suddenly she had an out-of-body experience. Now her life from that point on has been forever, what she likes to call, recalibrated. Since that time, she's produced 6 documentary films in record time that have received 6 prestigious awards, and she has become one of the most prolific, outspoken proponents for investigation into crop circles. It's my great pleasure to welcome Patty Greer to Night Fright for the first time, but most definitely not the last. Patty, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Wonderful. I'm down here near Boulder, Colorado in America, where it's been raining for 2 weeks. We don't usually get rain this long. We usually get sun and rain, but boy, we are in a drencher.
In a drencher, and I notice you've got the fire on over your left shoulder, so it's probably a little bit damp. Yeah, I don't blame you for that. It's not quite that cold in Canada, by the way, folks. It was Celsius, it was 22 degrees today, which is around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, just to let you know. It was sunny, but it was breezy. It's always breezy on the lake for some reason. Now, Patty, there's a conference coming up in just a couple of weeks called Contact in the Desert. It's from May 29th to the 31st, 2015, in a place called Joshua Tree, and that's near Palm Springs in California. Dan Friedman, Kathleen Martin, Jim Mars. For a complete list, folks, just go to the www.nightfrightshow website and just click on the banner that's there. It'll take you right to the spot. But there's incredible people who are going to be there, as well as yourself. I was wondering if you could tell us what your topic is going to be at Contact in the Desert.
Well, my subject is the same at all 7 events coming up this year, and the cruise that I'm doing from LA to the Mexican Riviera at the top of next year, January. My subject is crop circles, and I discovered them somewhat accidentally, and as soon as I took them very seriously, they took me seriously, and I feel like I've been used as a voice for the circle makers for the last 9 years, which I find to be a very great gift.
Do you find, now you say the circle makers, are they separate from the crop circle energy? Do they supply the energy to the crop circle, or is the crop circle, in your opinion, kind of a living organic being in itself?
Ooh, beautiful question. You know,
see, folks,
Brent,
not just another pretty face. I tell people I have the perfect body, The perfect body for radio, folks. Television, not so much. Radio's not so bad. I'm sorry.
That's all good. For 9 years, I have pointed to the sky and said, yay, circle makers, thank you so much. And this particular last year, everything happens to me, which I call by accident, but nothing's by accident. I landed at the farm where some of the most advanced crop circle research on Earth happened for the last 20 years. And there's a great scientist, his name is William Levengood, who worked with a secret partner that I interviewed because he passed away a year and a half now. And I'm very stunned to see some of the recent articles by the leading crop circle researchers just dogging him now that he's passed on, which just blows my mind because they're ignoring the opportunity that they could have had to, shall we say, tell the truth. And the truth is, this amazing scientist who's been listed in the Guinness Book of World Records for writing more appropriate, acceptable letters, papers for scientific journals than anyone else on Earth. And that is a huge mission for scientists because most of them don't make it in these magazines. He's had 9 articles. The next highest number was 2. So William Levengood was way above the rest. What he proved is that crop circles are not coming from the sky from ETs necessarily. They are originally coming out of the Earth.
Wow.
This, I know, right?
Yeah.
And she told me, I actually held my head and said, ow, ow. No, it can't be. It can't be that big of a change of story. And the truth is, it is. So Levengood and his scientific team did prove repeatedly that there are many crop circles that are real, and they do have biophysical changes in the wheat that are very, very apparent. And those changes would be where the node is bent, where the wheat goes and turns, or the barley or the corn or the oats. They're actually finding that there is something that heated the wheat to the point where it grew a bubble. It exploded, like they call it a blown node or an expulsion cavity. But it grows this bubble from the heat, heating the liquid within the wheat. Now, the only way they can do that is with a microwave to reproduce it. So there's some massive form of microwave energy that's hitting these crop circles. And so here's how the scientists deciphered it. And I thought we were going to build up to this for the punchline of the show, but we may as well start with dessert in case there's an earthquake. So what they discovered is that crop circles are coming out of the ground in these spinning vortices of energy, very high frequency spinning vortices. And they're coming out of the ground in pairs usually. One's going clockwise, the other counterclockwise. Try doing that. And they're going in opposite directions. And with that counter-rotating spin, they're actually drawing in the agreed upon, before they came out of the Earth, frequencies from ETs or other dimensional beings, as well as us, human consciousness. And that's how some of the people I've interviewed have actually said, I sat with a group of people, we looked at a formation, and bang, 2 days later, it appeared in the field. I've interviewed 2 different groups of people that have created a crop circle with intention.
Just from the power of their minds and imaging, so to speak.
Correct. Yes. So the Earth, now you got to think, if the Earth is a living being, of course she is, what's going on with her the last 50 years, 200 years, that would make her continually like erupt with these messages to humanity, also to those flying over the other multidimensional beings. It's not just for us. We'd like to think we're all that special, but we are not the only ones here. So they place them in farm fields. Why? Why would they want our attention drawn to our food supply? The poor mother
She's sitting here watching us frack her skin. She's watching us drill her blood. She's watching us poison the food supply. And she just keeps spitting up these crop circles like, yo, stop it. And some of them are so clearly blatant, such as when she does a binary code, or when the multidimensional beings throw down a binary code. So they are initially coming out of the earth in these spinning vortices, and sometimes they are messages from ET, sometimes from the earth, sometimes, like I said earlier, from humanity. But it is usually a combination of all three that can create a high enough frequency as these spinning vortices are going at it. As soon as the frequencies to create the message are perfect, bang, two balls of light appear from the spin. The frequencies get so hot that it turns into a bona fide plasma field where these balls of light appear, which many of us have seen. And a lot of people talk about balls of light. Orbs are different. So these are balls of light that are most likely scout ships. Most likely they are in crop circles for sure.
How big
They
are
are
they,
these. You know, I've heard from different people, mostly they're way up in the sky that we don't get to see them.
Okay.
And when they're happening in a crop circle, we're never close enough. So it's really hard to guess the size. But the guy that owns the research center in England has told me twice on camera that one appeared in front of him and he called it 2 feet across.
Okay.
And he said it was right there sitting in the center of a circle on the other side of a sprig, like a bouquet of wheat. And he was like feet from it with his camera hanging around his neck. And of course he sat there and watched this thing. And as soon as it disappeared, he realized he forgot to turn his camera on. He was so blown away. And that's what happens in a lot of these experiencer cases.
Now, see, Patty, I have to be honest, that would not have been an issue with me having the camera and everything when something like this occurred, because I would have been in reverse mode and gone. So it wouldn't even been an issue because I would be afraid. Completely, I'm a scaredy cat, I'll be honest. Now, Patty Greer's our guest tonight, folks. www.nightfrightshow.com. Just click on tonight's guest book, DVD covers, and that'll take you right to a place where you can order her DVDs. And they are The Wake Up Call, and the other one is, so you ready for this great title? The Shift Has Hit the Fan. SHIFT. But obviously it's a play on something else we know very well. And, you know, the crop circles, I think, are definitely some kind of communication, perhaps a warning, as you say, from Mother Nature. I was always suspicious that it could have been energy manipulation in sound waves. There's been some really interesting experiments that have been going on where they take a metal plate, put sand on it, and then put music under it and vibrate it. And the beautiful, beautiful designs that come out of it are just astounding. And all of a sudden I was looking at that and a crop circle and I thought, correlation? What do you think, Patty? Is that part of it as well?
You know, I've never studied the sound aspect. For me, it's been visual and energetic, but there are people that do. There are people that find that, of course, music really does affect water. And 90%, 97%, when they checked years ago, of all crop circles are sitting over an aquifer of water. So there is a very important element in almost every crop circle that they're sitting over water. Now, could it be that it makes it easier for the frequencies to affect the lay of the wheat? Or could it be that the intention of the messaging and the sacred geometry is meant to go out into the waters of the world?
You know,
so,
or all the above, right? Who knows? You know,
yes.
That's why we need to examine this phenomena.
Well, you know, for me, I really have avoided researchers. I've avoided other people's information, and thank God, because now that I'm
basically 10 years in, I realize how much misinformation has been encouraged by those with large amounts of money, not wanting the truth to get out about crop circles. And what we have in a lot of crop circles, which I'm going to be presenting at Contact in the Desert in 2 weeks, and also Alien Cosmic Expo up there in Ontario, Canada, up in Brantford in June.
Yeah. I'll give you some information on that in a few minutes, folks.
And I'm also going to be speaking in Calgary with a Modern Knowledge Tour. And it's quite an honor to be flying with the big boys. So for me, I was told 2 weeks last year, 2 weeks before I spoke at the International UFO Congress Convention, which in my opinion is the biggest one in the world. And I've shown all 6 of my movies. You mentioned 2 titles, but I have 6. And all 6 movies were totally intuitive. None of them were scripted. None of them had makeup, hairdos, actors. Basically, I got hooked on laying in crop circles in 2006. And in 2007, I laid in a crop circle and passed out. And when I woke up, I knew everything there was to know about crop circles. It was the strangest thing. And my skin was sunburned, and I was feeling very strange. And I had been alone when I passed out. I had no idea what time it was, how long I had been gone. And I learned years later that I was taken. Because right after that experience, when I opened my eyes in the crop circle, laying on my back, looking at the sky, I saw for the first time ever plasma. And I could see it clear as day. And I still do now. So what I learned is that when we train our vision to see orbs, plasma, balls of light, when we stop texting long enough to maybe have a life that is physically present, then we start to see things. So at first I thought it was just in England in the crop circles. And these plasma energies that I can see clear as day look like double circles, like a donut almost, a shape of a donut. And they are clear like a jellyfish. And so they're everywhere in the sky. They're moving constantly, all the time moving. And a lot of people can see like the little glints of light. Have you seen the glints of light where you think you're like seeing glitter in the sky? Have you seen it? Okay. So because we're generic humans run by doctors and nurses that are supposed to tell us things to keep our mind limited, we are told that that's the veins in our eyelids or the vessels in our eyeballs. Well, bye-bye, out the door, because what we're seeing when we really look and relax our eyes and stare into the sky is plasma. And what I've seen is two different forms. When you call me fearless and relentless, it really describes me now. I mean, I have been so ripped by the distributors. Last year I made $15. That's the combination of 2 distributors, 4 movies. These guys, poor things. Anyway, you know, they're up there with the banksters that got away with everything in 2008. What we're seeing now is a lot more clarity. What I talk about is relentless truth. And I've, of course, lost an awful lot of friends because I see plasma. I teach others to see it. And what happens when you start to see what's really in the sky is you realize that right there in your own vision is another dimension. Bang, right there in your face, you realize we're multidimensional.
It's funny, you know, Patty, Story Musgrave was on the show several weeks ago. Very famous astronaut, folks. You can find his show in the archive, www.nightfrightshow.com. And on the show, I had two young guys from Stanford University, both in aerospace. One was my nephew Tyler, and the other one was Paul Tarantino. And Paul has been studying plasma in outer space. And Story chimed in to say that when all the lights are off in the spaceship, when they're up in space, he can watch the plasma crawl all over the spaceship. So because you're going to contact in the desert, I would urge you to seek out Story. Tell him what your theory is, and I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of commonality there. There could be a breakthrough, folks, at contact in the desert. That's May 29th to 31st, by the way, 2015 Joshua Tree. And you had mentioned another great thing that's coming up right here in Canada, folks, in Brantford, which is a stone's throw from Toronto. And there's a good chance I'll be there too. I'm going to probably make the trek and drive there. It's called the Alien Cosmic Expo. And I know Stan Friedman's going to be there. I think Kathleen Martin's going to be there, but don't quote me on that. I'll have to get the information more exact. I've just found out about this. And that's going to be taking place from June 26th right through to the 28th, 2015 in Brantford, Ontario. You can just Skype that. And it'd be a good time to make the whole weekend. You can visit Toronto, and Hamilton is nearby as well, and Niagara Falls. So you're right in that golden triangle, and that's virtually what they call it. And it's going to be just amazing. You know, Patty will be there presenting as well. So if you cannot make it for whatever reason down to Contact in the Desert, and you want to meet and greet with Patty Greer, this is a great opportunity for you. And once again, www.nightfrightshow.com. Just go to that website. There's all kinds of great information there for you. It's a focal point for all the information for these great conferences coming up, as well as our guest links. As always, folks, there's no worries there. Everything is free. www.nightfrightshow.com.
The JFK Assassination, the definitive book by Brent, Holland. From inside the Oval Office to Daily Plaza, first-person witness accounts. Order yours right now. nightfrightshow.com.
Let's go back to Patty. Now, Patty, I've never had an out-of-body experience. You know, I've heard people describe them that they shoot up in the sky and they can look down. Some claim it's the same as a near-death experience, that they can see everything except they're still tied to their physical body by some kind of electric, almost a cord or something, an invisible electric cord. What was it like for you when you were there? And it looks like we lost her.
Well, I know.
No, there she is. No, she's coming back.
Yeah, I have two experiences where I'm sure I left my body. And I don't have a lot of recall of what it felt like leaving or what it felt like coming back. But I did do a 3-hour regression with Mary Rodwell from Australia. Wow. When I was showing one of my movies in Glastonbury, England, Mary was there. And she was moved by the movie, so we had a conversation over tea. And I told her about an incident that happened to me in 2001. It was the first time I'm sure of, where I had been dating a wonderful man for 4 years. And woke up one morning, and it was a mountain house where I hand-fed a lot of wildlife. I had a fox, and deer took the apples out of my teeth, and I was always playing with the animals. And I wake up in the morning, and my boyfriend is nose to nose with me, and I was kind of stumped. It was like, yo, why are you on my face? And good morning. And he was in a panic. And he said, do you remember what you said in your sleep last night? I said, absolutely not. I was sleeping. He said, I've been on your nose for hours to make sure you weren't dead. So the poor guy, after 4 years of dating me, was awakened in the middle of the night by, he said, I was speaking in my sleep. And I said, it's not what you see, it's what you don't see. So he woke up and he's thinking, wow, profound, wow. And then 2 headlights went along the mountain and did a U-turn, came toward the house, and he went, oh my God, that's a solid mountain. There's no road there. First ball of light came into my bedroom, circled the ceiling, and my poor boyfriend said he shook and shook and shook me, and he heard the headboard slamming the wall, and he was yelling, Patty, Patty, what is this? You know, I had so much wildlife in my life, he thought it was something I forgot to tell him about. And, or as you say, about. And then the second ball of light came through the wall, and it was white on the outside, but when it came through the wall, it was bright green, he said, like a glow stick. And at this point, he just about jumped out of his skin. But what scared him the most was that he couldn't awaken me. And he said he shook the bed really hard, shook me, and yelled in my face, and he could not get me to respond while these balls of light were in the house or for hours later. Needless to say, great man, it was our last date. what do you tell the kids, right? How did you lose Kevin? Well, so that was my first experience. And it wasn't until I did a regression with Mary Rodwell that I learned where they take me. So in 2001, I was being prepared for making these movies. In 2004, I was innocently at a dentist office getting the old mercury fillings out of my teeth, those silver things that are 50% toxic mercury. The gag order was lifted 2 years ago, but can you imagine? I don't know about your country, but in America, we had a 50-year-long gag order where no dentist, no doctor, no nurse, no hospital could tell human the truth about how poisonous those fillings are in your teeth, or they would lose their license. So I go to this dentist. I know too much. It makes him mad. I wake up from his free nitrous oxide, $6,000 worth of white porcelain, getting the crap out of my mouth, and I wake up with a mouthful of new mercury fillings. I looked at the dentist when he handed me the mirror. I said, when are we starting? He said, we're done. I said, excuse me? He said, well, while you were unconscious, you changed your mind and asked me to do silver. And he was lucky I didn't have a baseball bat or a weapon. But I lost the use of my hands for 7 years, and I was a musician. I was a professional harpist, singer, songwriter, pianist. And if you go to my website and you see any of my movies, it's all my music. So clearly, that was orchestrated to be created for the movie soundtracks. And then in 2003-04, I was taken out of my physical life completely by losing the use of my beautiful hands. I'm still down to one Band-Aid 11 years later. I've been detoxed for 5 years, but mercury is very serious. And if anybody has silver fillings in any country, if your dentist or doctor says they're just fine, they're safe, get a different dentist, get a different doctor. It's not even up for discussion. If these doctors and dentists, with the ban of truth being lifted 2 years ago, are still not intelligent enough to tell the truth or realize that that party is over, it's not even worth talking to them. Get a different dentist. But I do want to, I was just on Coast to Coast a few weeks ago, fantastic audience, and a lot of people listened to this article, and I forgot to, this story, and I forgot to mention the solution. Your doctors and dentists won't tell you, but the solution is the real test that my doctors never gave me. It's called inorganic mercury. And if you do the correct test, inorganic mercury, it's available at Quicksilver Scientific in Colorado, in America. Quicksilver Scientific does the right test. They mail it to you, you check yourself, and then you can actually heal and not be lied to by doctors and dentists. But this took me out of my life. And it wasn't until now, in the last few years, that I realized what a gift it was, because I would have never stopped being a musician long enough to do these movies. And the testing of my endurance has just been remarkable with really evil people in the industry. I haven't met anybody good.
Can you describe some of what's been going on in your life in terms of those people?
I signed a deal for 4 movies with an exclusive distributor that has hidden me for 4 years. Basically, it was a contract to put my movies in their freezer. And I was so green going in, I had no idea. And a normal human would just like stop doing it, because this has cost me hundreds of thousands. And basically, I just flushed it, trusting the wrong people. On the other hand, this contact is so incredible that the human race and all these bad activities of evil and sociopathic and basically mentally ill humans that are running the world, they're very less important than the bigger picture, which is many of us are having contact. And contact is extraordinary and exceptional. And when you are having this experience, it becomes more important than anything else to some of us. For me, it's so satisfying that I almost don't notice anything else missing in my life.
Patty, do you want to be here, or do you want to be in constant contact?
I like the combination because I really want to help the planet wake up. I've got family, I've got friends, And I'm watching what's going on with our society, and it's very, very gripping. To Boulder, Colorado, the beautiful little town I've been in for 40 years, is called Smart Grid City. It's the first city where they're testing the smart grid on human to see what percentage of them get cancer and how quickly. It's absolutely stunning because they chose the city where I've been for 40 years. So I've been up in the mountains, like on a different mountain outside Boulder, but I have friends and kids down there, and the entire situation is really incredible. This was a gorgeous city, and now our sky is not at all what it used to be. You could drive miles out east and look at the beautiful mountain view. Now you go a couple miles out east, and it's like smog. And we have fracking in Colorado. They're just fracking the heck out of the place. And people know better. And all of our organic farms out there, just beautiful organic farms, are being forced to use fracking water to water with. This is going on everywhere. We are really, I think, in the worst corruption in human history right now. So for me, when I look at the crop circle messages, let's take a favorite. Remember the turn of the century, there was the alien face in the disc. Do you remember the alien face and the big round binary code? Do you remember what that said?
I can't. I apologize. Was it E MC squared? E equals MC squared?
No.
No.
Oh, no, not that one.
Sorry.
This one, and I'm just going to point out that it was shortly after 9/11. Okay? So shortly after 9/11, the Earth, the beings, and us put our energies together and laid down this massive crop circle that was the binary code. And when they do binary code, they do it so that we can't misunderstand the message. And if you look at the ground shots of that binary code huge disc, it was phenomenal. And I want to suggest to the audience that while we're having the show, please visit my website because I've got hundreds of crop circles on it. And so while we're talking, you could be looking at the images to realize it shocks people how ornate and intricate these crop circles are. It's pattygreer.net, PATTYGREER.net. And on my website, every single page is collages of crop circles because, like I was starting to say, before the International UFO Congress Convention, 2 weeks before, I had contact. And they came in, and they always wake me up at 3 in the morning. And I know it's them because it's 3 in the morning, and I'm wide awake. And so on this particular night, I was like, oh, that's...
Is there a physical entity that appears before you, or is it one of those balls, or what happens in a typical visitation?
Totally telepathic.
Oh.
My brain is filled with communication. I'm closing my eyes and I can actually see a circle of light, but I don't see them. I just get communication. And it's a lot of information downloaded quickly. What they said to me 2 weeks before the UFO Congress was, speak in crop circles. No matter what you planned in your PowerPoint, speak in crop circles. Don't talk a lot, show them. So I said, okay, I can do that. I'm going back to sleep now. And it was like, no. So I tossed and turned. I'm like, oh, come on, let me sleep. I'm really tired. I got up at 5. I gave in. And 10 hours later, I realized I had laid the entire program, 321 photos, in categories. And I had a standing ovation. So what happened was nobody could deny anything because when I said binary code right after 9/11, here's the message, deciphered as this: beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe there is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing.
That's pretty ominous. Now, when these messages come to you, you know, there's been a rash of people that are imitating crop circles and are making them handmade, if you will. How do you discern when you're looking at a crop circle, whether it's been handmade or whether you would consider it authentic? Is there a way that you
Good question.
do that? Thank you.
Yes. The human-made circles, the guys use boards and ropes. And it's a straight board, 3 feet across usually, with the rope on each side, drilled a hole, knot at the bottom, and they lift it up and they step on it, and it pushes all the wheat, corn, barley, oats, whatever they're on, down, and then they lift it up, walk 3 steps forward and push it down again, and then they pull the ropes up, move 3. So as you look at a crop circle made by humans, every 3 feet you will see broken wheat.
And
so
usually there's
when
a
we
pint
go
of
into
Guinness or two involved.
there's what?
A pint of Guinness or two involved with these guys.
Yeah, that's how they celebrate. Hey, we didn't get caught. So the real crop circles, remember we talked about the real crop circles having the blown bubble, the bent node. And this is very interesting. Another thing about real crop circles that Levengood and his secret partner that I've interviewed said that when the samples came in, they had iron ore on the leaves. And when they pulled the leaf off of the iron ore, they actually found, I have to read a little bit of this because I don't want to make a mistake. Levengood pulled the leaf off of the iron ore, and in the iron ore itself were the changes, where the fibers molded right in, so he knew it was molten when it hit the leaf. Now, molten iron ore has to be rolling at about 1200 degrees centigrade. And for that to be floating over a field of wheat in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, there's something anomalous going on. So the fact that they find this molten iron on some of the leaves is another major biophysical evidence, piece of evidence that has been found in crop circles. I have seen in the center of some crop circles, usually there's a centerpiece, and then it swirls down like in one movement when it's a real crop circle. Whoa. And the centerpiece that stands up, every now and then, there's like one flower sticking out of it. So there's a very artistic thing going on where they know that they want to create art, that they want to keep a centerpiece, and they want everything else to be totally smooth. And these crop circles are incredible. And as we walk into the farm fields, the directions, unless you have a GPS, which very few of us have, the instructions are something like this. Go down the road until you see a broken tree with an arm that's leaning quite like that, and you'll see a place where you can climb over the gate. So climb over the gate, count 5 tram lines to the left, and just keep on going. And a tram line is where the tractor tires go. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you just start heading. And you have no idea because it's all one layer. And by the time the crop circles hit, usually June, July, early August, are prime season for crop circle deliveries because the wheat, barley, corn, oats are nice and mature. So it doesn't kill the crop, which is really interesting. The real crop circle formations do not kill the wheat.
Well, it's funny because that was one of my questions. Is the land agrable after? Or is there something poisoned about the land that you shouldn't be using it to grow food? Not at all.
The only poison is the toxins that they're spraying on the wheat. The only time my camera ever didn't work was when I went to interview a farmer. Now, I was not guided to interview a farmer, but the humans over in England that saw my movies kept saying, well, you don't focus on the debunkers. And I'm like, yeah, right. Well, you need to focus on the farmers. No, not the ones mowing down the field. I'm focused on the circle makers and the messages and the delivery system because this is really fascinating and it's something that nobody's really told the truth about yet. So Levengood's research went even further. And what he said was, there are microwave energies, there are ion electron avalanche energies, there are thermal gradients, convective stability, and there's other areas that are undergoing turbulence that are electrical fields. And on the Earth, all of those energies have very specific and distinct boundaries, boundary conditions, and they're interacting with the planet all the time. So when you've got these
raging energies, you know, all the ley lines are another thing that are very prominent in 96.7% of all crop circles. Almost all of them that we map out at the end of summer are sitting right on a ley line, many of them on the crossing of two ley lines, which we call a node. So there is an actual epicenter where there's more crop circles documented than anywhere else on Earth. And I specify documented because there may be tremendous numbers of them in Tanzania, but if nobody's flying over, nobody's going into the field or the grasslands, they're not going to see it. But where we know there's been more crop circles discovered and documented than anywhere else on the planet is in southern England, between Stonehenge, that everybody knows, and the Avebury Stone Circle that very few people know. And the Avebury Stone Circle is surrounded by a tremendous number of sacred sites. So when we map out the epicenter, in the last 10, 20 years, we've had an average of about 150 crop circles documented every year, and about 75 of them are in Wiltshire, England, this epicenter. 75 to 77 documented almost every summer in a 40 square mile radius. Brand new crop circles, brand new messages, year after year after year. Now, number one, it's sitting over the largest salt aquifer in the world. Remember, we talked about having to be over water. So there it is. And Wiltshire, Avebury, Stone Circle, Stonehenge, Silbury Hill, all the ancient churches, all the monuments, all the dolmens, all the places where they buried the great ancestors that were the great healers and left their bones in the ground, where they've done ritual for thousands of years in this area. They've really built up the spiritual energy, the frequency.
The JFK Assassination, the definitive book by Brent, Holland. From inside the Oval Office to Daily Plaza, first-person witness accounts. Order yours right now. nightfrightshow.com.
Patty, we're still going. Don't worry, even though for some reason Skype is funky tonight, folks. I know there's a storm where Patty is, and sometimes that affects the satellite feed, as we all know, with people with digital TVs. All of a sudden, you'll be watching a show, and it'll say signal lost, searching for signal, and this is what's happening a little bit with our Skype tonight. But bear with us, we're going to get through it. Patty, I'm just curious in all this, has there been replication of these forms of designs elsewhere, not only in the world, but in various cultures? I right away when you said Wiltshire, and I thought of Stonehenge before you had mentioned it, and I thought, I wonder if they made Stonehenge to represent what they're seeing on the ground as some kind, they must have thought it was from the gods, quote unquote, and perhaps this was their way of immortalizing the gods or worshiping the gods. Would that play into it at all? I'm just throwing ideas out there.
Sure. Well, there is something very sacred about this area. And when some of these sites have been around for 6,000, 7,000 years, you can imagine that it has been a draw for millions of people from around the world. And this area does, Stonehenge and Avebury, have the reputation for drawing people for sacred ceremony every quarter, every solstice, every equinox. They celebrate at Stonehenge and at Avebury. And last summer, I kicked it. I went over with a TV producer from Canada and a cinematographer, so I didn't even have to carry the camera. It was so great. And instead of my big, huge, massive, slightly outdated Panasonic P2 HD, he brought these two very nifty 5D cameras and a drone. I mean, yeah, right? We were banking. So it was like effortless filming. And so we did Stonehenge at midnight, which was absolutely incredible. And because I've been there so many years and because I go in so many crop circles, the people that I'm friends with are pretty special people. So we went to Stonehenge to their ceremony with the Archdruidess of Stonehenge. And she was in the car with us, and we were so excited to get there. And here we are pulling up to Stonehenge. We're really close. and somebody in the back seat said, "Hey, can you grab my phone?" So she reaches down and grabs the emergency brake, and I had a semi behind me. Next thing I knew, I'm in this rental car. I'm on the wrong side of the road, wrong side of the car. The car comes to a stop. And so, I mean, we were really, it was pretty funny. We didn't get hurt, but I got the car started again, you know, the brake off. And we had Stonehenge till midnight. It was absolutely gorgeous. Drumming and dancing and lights and orbs. Every photo I took filled with orbs. And at midnight or 1, we drove away, packed up the gear, and went to the Avebury Stone Circle because we had ceremony there starting at 4:30 a.m. Wow. So at 4:30, we got to the Avebury Stone Circle where people had been, shall we say, drinking all night. And over there, they're missing a lot of teeth, and they drink a lot. And so we get there at 4:30, and, you know, it was a toast fest. But again, the magnificence of the sun rising, and my friend Gordon, who was running the Wiccan ceremony there, he had a staff with a crystal, and everybody's holding their breath, waiting for the sun to rise. And across the stone circle were the gongs. I mean, 4 foot wide, huge, massive metal rack. So when the sun comes up, I'm getting chills remembering the moment. It was so beautiful. As soon as the Wiccan priest says, "The sun has risen." And again, you're at these beautiful sacred sites. I'm only mentioning this because it draws thousands of people. I think they said 46,000 at Stonehenge. I'm not sure if I have that number wrong, but it was packed.
It was packed.
So, you know, going from Stonehenge to Avebury, Avebury had a lot fewer people, but it was absolutely gorgeous. And to watch the sunrise in a sacred moment, in a sacred stone circle, this is what makes all the bad activities of humans acting badly really unimportant. And I think the more we raise our frequency and raise our vibration, we're going to find all of this corrupt activity extremely boring. I just really hope that we can get it over with, because everybody knows, well, not everybody, but people know what's going on. It's inexcusable. There's no need for it. We know better.
Has there been any anomalies concerning health surrounding the crop circles, either positive or negative? You know, I always think of healing springs and things of that nature. Has there been any reports of people feeling healed or feeling more spiritual, more invibrated by being around crop circles and the energies they produce?
A lot of people claim that they were healed in a crop circle. Okay. I did not have that. That wasn't what my purpose was going there. They kept my hands, I shouldn't say they, my hands did not heal for quite a long time. And I was filming all 6 movies in gloves and Band-Aids. I mean, it was serious. And nothing stopped me, though. I was insane. I mean, I shouldn't say the word, but I would have done anything. At the end of a day of hiking in those green welly boots, I would be absolutely exhausted, because you hike miles to get down the mountain into the farm field, or if you're lucky, you can pull nearby. But I remember one night when I got a call, I finally got home. I was painfully tired. And my buddy Nick said, "Hey, Kathy, there's a new crop circle, let's go." And I said, "I can't move. I'm so tired." He said, "New crop circle." I was like, "Oh." Of course I went. I mean, it's very habit forming. So as you're walking in the tram line and you know you're getting close, all of a sudden, for me, and a lot of people that are the regulars, the hair starts to stand up on your arm, even if you're a girl with little teeny hairs. The electromagnetic field is so enhanced. And I get goosebumps head to toe, I get tingles on the top of my head, but the hair standing up on your arm is how you know that you've stepped into an umbrella of something that you weren't in 3 feet ago. And I would test it, because as soon as I could get into the umbrella of enhanced electromagnetic field, I would sometimes back up, and the hair would go down, and I'd think, okay, I'm not imagining it, and I'd step forward. So the next man that I was madly in love with was with me in the crop circles in 2010 and 2011.
And as we were flying over, he said, I'm not going to pretend anything. And I said, don't do me any favors. I just want to show you what's going on over there. So we get in this formation, one of the first ones I took him in. And as soon as the hair went up on my arm and I knew that we were in it, I turned around and he was like this.
Huh. Huh.
So he watched me film a movie called 4 Stories, One Events, Other Worlds, which I just retitled, and the new title is Orbs and Light Beings because people didn't find the movie. We were at the research center first thing in the morning, and we watched these 2 guys from Belgium fall out of their truck. And we thought, drunk, drugs, whatever. And we watched them stumble to try and get to the research center. They could barely walk. They were really having a hard go. And at first I was like, yeah. And then the mother and me got a little concerned, so I just got up and went and said, are you okay? What's up? And the guy barely could look up from the ground. He looked up and he said, oh, what we saw last night. I was like, oh, come sit with us. Honey, please get them coffee. These 2 guys not only saw bright orange balls of light, but they said that they saw illumined light beings with arms, legs, and a head come out of a doorway in a ball of light over a crop circle. And he said, very intelligently, my eyes don't lie. It's just my rational mind that tries to find a rational explanation. My poor boyfriend, I'm like, oh God, here goes the next one. So as soon as we interviewed them, and now this particular year, 2011 or 2010, I had said to my boyfriend, I'm leaving the camera home. Oh no, you got this great pack, I'll carry it. And I said, no, you don't understand. Patty Greer, Wiltshire, England, camera, they're gonna make me make a movie. And he's like, oh honey, you're so cute. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. If I have a camera in Wiltshire, they're gonna make me make a movie, I guarantee you. He's like, oh, please leave the camera home. I just want to play and kiss and be a kid in the crop circles. I do not want to work. So we're on our way to the airport, and I'm like, what? The camera's in the back seat. He said, oh, come on. And I was like, great, I'm going to lose another boyfriend. And so that was the morning when we saw the guys that saw the illumined light beings with arms, legs, and a head come out of a ball of light out of a doorway. And I went, oh my God, those photos I took 2 years ago on that same overlook had a doorway in the orange ball of light. Oh my God. Wow. Real thing. They told us that there were some French people that had also seen these orange balls of light. So I said to them, listen, I'm really trying not to make a movie, but would you walk behind the church with me and tell me what you just told me again now that the coffee's kicked in? And they still could barely look up. Again, very bloodshot face, very red skin like I had when I was having my experience in the crop circle. So as soon as we finished interviewing them, we went back to the research center, and he said, oh, there's the French people. I'm like, you guys make it way too easy. So we interviewed the French people. The next day we went to another crop circle, and there were children playing in the field, and I said, can I interview your kids? Yeah, they don't speak English, but I can translate. They were from Belgium, a darling little family. And I said to the mom, this is hours away from where we were. And the next day, I said, would you ask your children what they think of this crop circle we're in? And the little 5-year-old with ringlets and a space between her 2 front teeth starts going away, going, and the mother translates, and she says, she doesn't want to talk about this crop circle. She wants to talk about the one in East Field that we were in the other day when she saw the orange balls of light.
So there's
My
something
poor
to
boyfriend,
it, obviously.
this is the 3rd story.
And none
then
of
we
them know
went
each
to a
other.
wedding. And then we went to a wedding. I met a guy at the end of the table, end of the night. I said, Eddie, what do you do? I do automatic writing. He's from Holland. I said, really? What does that look like? He pulls out of his pocket a book, slaps it open on the table, and there it was, Eastfield Crop Circle. I knew it. Oh, God.
He said, yeah, the other day I was in Eastfield and sitting in a crop circle and they started speaking through me and the first word was orange. And I went, he said, yeah. So I asked them if they were the orange balls of light and the word was yes. And he said, they told me the crop circle wasn't done yet. On camera, earlier that day, the 5-year-old child told me that the balls of light told her the crop circle wasn't done yet. 2 days later, it was much bigger. And 2 weeks later, third phase, it was magnificent. And that story is in my movie called Orbs and Light Beings. It's pretty remarkable that when I have a camera, I am a magnet.
No kidding.
So I get home from the UFO conference this year.
We've only got a minute.
And a man for... Huh?
We've only got a minute.
Okay. And this man says, I have a gift for you I really want to send you. And I said, okay, here's my address. This is 2 months ago. I open the package. It comes in the mail. Crack it open. And it is a denim jacket with a huge embroidered crop circle. Now, out of 30,000 crop circles in the world, it was the crop circle where I was taken. It was Sugar Hill, 2007. I'm looking at this jacket. I'm going, what are the chances? He saw my talk. He knows, wow, what a great guy. So I called him on the phone. I said, did you send me this jacket because you knew it was the formation I was taken in? He said, no. It was the only jacket my son embroidered, and that's why I wanted to send it to you. He passed away. Oh. It was a very special jacket, and I wanted you to have it. And I said, well, your son must have known what was going on, because that is the #1 crop circle in my life, and I've got it on the back of a jacket.
That's a
Sugar Hill, 2007.
Very special story. Thank you for sharing that with us. Folks, Patty Greer's been our guest tonight. What can I tell you? You know, she's a pro. Contact in the Desert's coming up May 29th to 31st, 2015 in Joshua Tree. And don't forget about, and we'll be doing some more on this one too, folks, as well. Alien Cosmic Expo from June 26th to 28th, 2015 in Brantford, Ontario. Thank you, Patty, for joining us. There's the music. I got to run. I'm Brent Holland from Night Fright. See you all later. Thank you, Patty.
You're listening to Night Fright and your host, Brent Holland. The time is now. Your voice in the dark for paranormal and conspiracy.
The JFK Assassination, the definitive book by Brent Holland. From inside the Oval Office to Daily Plaza, first-person witness accounts. Order yours right now. nightfrightshow.com.